Welcome back to Ignite Love, going into the fifth chapter of real life stories of defining love and manifesting more of it in your everyday life. I'm enjoying doing this so far. Today we're going to be going to the chapter that was written by Natalie Syrmopoulos. I'm butchering that last name probably. That's okay. Her chapter is The Conditions of Unconditional Love. And the quote is, "True love is to love unconditionally, beginning with the self." The intention. My wish is to help you see for yourself what took me so long to realize. Unconditional love brings peace and freedom. This journey has but one condition. It must begin with self. Accepting all that you are while evolving to all that you can be, this is the key to true love. Oh boy. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. One of the analogies I've used on and off is the idea that I can only love someone else to a level and depth that I love and accept myself first and foremost. And I can only feel loved to the level and depth that I love and accept myself first and foremost also. Otherwise, I can be showered with more love than what I love for myself, though it's just going to overflow like a already full teacup. And I'll still most likely be wanting more. So I need to grow my container and love myself to a greater degree. So I can actually love someone else in a greater capacity and feel loved in a greater capacity by someone else. But yes, I'm young tonight, and that's okay. This is a little bit later than normal. Thank you for being here with me. So, the conditions of unconditional love. As I sat on the uncomfortable green armchair across from the family therapist, I was distracted. She attempted to speak words of kindness and compassion, but I had a lot on my mind, and my impatience grew. I was tired of the same bullshit, trying to understand how to break free from the dysfunctional cycle I was in. My morning with my daughters had been rough. My husband and I were bickering at each other, and my health hit a new level of detriment. Just hours before, it had finally been confirmed. I had thyroid cancer. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was still processing my new reality. All I could think was, I can't keep living like this. For a year, I had been seeing a family therapist while completing a course that focused on parent-child security and connection. Prior to that, I had read several books, done research, and counseled with the pediatrician. Although many of those helped, the relationship with my children was not improving enough. During this life-changing session, my therapist asked me a question that caught my attention and shook me to my core. It was pivotal and sent chills down my body. 2 years before, I was playing outside with my children on a warm autumn day. I was tired, but making an effort, wanting to take advantage of the weather as winter would soon approach. Winter is coming. We were out in the front yard by the large maple tree, where swings hung on the sturdy, thick branches. I was steadily pushing my girls while keeping an eye on the time. The cool breeze rustled the leaves, which were changing from rich green to beautiful red, orange, and shimmering yellow. The fallen leaves crunched under my feet. We were having fun, smiling, and laughing. I looked at my watch and saw it was getting late, and a familiar feeling began to flare up in the pit of my stomach. "Okay, girls," I announced hesitantly but with hope, "it's time to go in." "No, I don't want to," yelled my eldest. My stomach started to twist in knots. My jaw began to tighten. Everything with her was a struggle, a negotiation. She was the most persistent, tenacious, and difficult 4-year-old I knew. I slung my 1-year-old over my shoulder and tried to reason with her sister. I know, but we've been playing a long time. I need to go in and start dinner. She didn't like that. That's not what she wanted to do. She twisted her mouth in an angry frown and glued her uh, bottom more firmly into the swing. You're a stupid mommy. The knots tightened and my face scowled. Keeping it in my mind that my neighbors might hear me, through clenched teeth, I told her to get inside. She didn't move. In the pit of my stomach, a fireball of anger started to form. I began growling at the classic parental countdown. You ever do that? Have you ever gotten that? Have you done that to your kids? She wasn't budging. My hand began to sweat and my heart raced. Using every ounce of restraint I had, I yelled, "You better follow us inside, otherwise you'll be outside by yourself." Finally, after what seemed like forever, she dragged her feet to the front door. Embarrassed, I slammed the door and locked it behind us. I couldn't push the flaming volcano of anger down any longer. It trickled up my throat and I screeched, "Why are you so rude? How dare you call me names? I don't say them to you. You're so disrespectful. Why can't you just do what you're asked?" "I'll rip your head off," she snapped back with a seething look. My heart wrenched in pain from the stab of her words. How could I love someone who speaks to me like that? Is this what loving your child should feel like? I was so fueled with anger and yet so deflated by exhaustion. This dysfunctional dance had been going on for a couple of years now. She does something she's not supposed to do. We get angry. Everything escalates. I worry about various scenarios. My biggest concern was, what would the dynamic look like when she was a teen or an adult? It was overwhelming to think about. As an adult, she's 100% responsible for anything that she does. One of the tougher things, I think, for people to go and realize and accept for themselves is that everyone is 100% responsible for what they say, what they do, what they don't say, and what they don't do, and how they express their feelings and emotions. Yeah. So, continuing back to the story. For months, our relationship continued to falter, and she continued to act out. There were dark, trying moments when I would question if I had the capacity to love her, and that weighed heavily on me. I didn't know what to do. I was at a total loss. Feeling run down and desperate, I sought out a family therapist. Good job seeking help. While sitting in her green armchair, lost in frustration and worry, she repeated the question she'd asked me, and it took a moment to register. What makes you the right mom for your kids? And it hit me like a big slap across my face. What am I doing? My breath was shallow. I sat sunken in my seat, shoulders curled forward, looking down at the worn out gray carpet. I felt small. I frantically thought about what it was going to take for things to really shift. My mind was going a million miles a minute, fearful of what would happen if I didn't get my shit together. I can't keep going at this rate. Clearly, from my newly confirmed diagnosis, my body was fed up, and so was I. The hard reality was, the cards have been dealt. I was the mother of two feisty, strong-willed girls, and clearly I wasn't playing my hand very well. Things don't just happen by chance. Nothing is coincidence. There's a reason I'm a parent to these two incredible girls. I agree with that there are no coincidences. I also hold that the universe conspires in our favor all the time. And when we come across things that seem like coincidences, those are things to pay attention to and things to go and follow, even if they don't make the most logical sense at the time. Slowly, I looked up, shifting in the green chair. I straightened my back, lifted my chest, and took a deep breath, paused, and pondered. As life goes on and my daughters get older, would they be inspired by me or in spite of me? Authentic inspiration comes from a place of love. I knew that, but I wasn't living it. At that moment, I knew I needed to make a difference in my life. I no longer wanted to be surviving and fighting, but thriving and evolving. I wanted to morph, emerge into something I hadn't experienced before. I needed to explore a path I had never walked. That pivotal moment when my Ignite journey began. I felt like I had been given permission to get back in the driver's seat and head toward uncharted territory. I felt a mix of excitement, fear, and possibility. As I left that session, I began to formulate a plan that would alter the course of our lives. Throughout my life, I was often coined as a machine, hardworking, headstrong, full of passion and drive. When I set my mind to something, I made it happen. In fact, that was my motto: make things happen. I was the driver in my life, doing what I wanted, trailblazing with impatience and callous with people in my way. I had an urgency to accomplish whatever I could with any available minute. As a race against time and hated everything that wasted it, including myself. When I didn't deliver, I didn't give myself much grace. Those were the conditions I set for myself. When unmet, a barrage of berating comments would enter my mind. Can't I do better? Why didn't I make better choice? Why am I such an idiot? After would come a flood of unhappiness, sadness, and disappointment. I felt incomplete and empty. Restless, I would find opportunities to do better. One thing kind of stuck out to me in that last paragraph. I was a driver in my life, doing what I wanted, trailblazing with impatience, and callous with people in my way. Sounds exactly like her eldest daughter was earlier in the story. Like mother, like daughter. Okay. I was continually reaching for the next destination, rarely enjoying the journey, always impatient. Upon reaching my goals, I would feel temporarily satisfied and then empty and hollow. Once again, an uneasiness would engulf my stomach. I hated something about this cycle. I just didn't know what it was. What was wrong with me? After building a career, owning my own place, having great friends, and living a good life, I was still left with a sense of unhappiness. I needed to fix this. I didn't like this about me. In fact, I hated it. So I did something about it and learned how to be better. And things were progressing. I fell in love, got married, and then shit got real in a profound way. I became a stay-at-home mom who gave up her career. My life turned upside down and the gut-wrenching cycle of uneasiness started again. I realized there was a pattern, a reoccurring theme, this notion that things weren't going as they should, my expectations weren't being met, and I was disappointed with my life again. I was tormented with the familiarity of this insane sequence. Right from the get-go, I struggled as a mom. Increasingly, I became frustrated and exhausted, often angry, screaming at my kids. I felt like I wasn't heard and had little control. I grew resentful. I didn't love being a parent. Wasn't I supposed to? And if I didn't, clearly I was doing something wrong. Maybe I wasn't meant to be a parent. Why couldn't I just be grateful? Why am I such an asshole? Once again, the berating commentary flooded me, overtaking my mind. This time, the magnitude of my pattern was unbearable, largely based on what I thought was the reason. My kids, especially my eldest, who is a complete reflection of me in many ways. Hey, she realized it. Good job. It seemed to me that I wasn't the problem. It was them. They were the issue. No, they're just the mirror. They're just the mirror, sweetheart. We're all mirrors from one another. What we love and adore in someone else is what we truly love and can recognize within ourselves. Also, what we hate and can't stand in another is what we truly can't stand about ourselves either. And we are all good, bad, positive, negative. We have it all within us, each one of us. For I'm you, disguised as not you. You are me, disguised as not me. I began reading all the parenting books and going to counseling. Something needs to be fixed with them, or so I thought. Common misconception, it's okay. I'd often hear life coaches advise, if there is a toxic person in your life, don't let them be in your life. But what if that toxic person was your kid or your spouse? The advice didn't seem right. This way of thinking made me the victim of my life. I understood that, and I knew it couldn't be the answer. Oh. Okay. Separation between kids being toxic and spouse being toxic. You're allowed to leave a toxic spouse. Don't have to go and stick with the we're a nuclear family and being together because that's the traditional way of that's being done. If it's unhealthy for you, then don't stay in the unhealthy relationship. Yes, you can work on it. Yes, you can look to go get better, and you don't have to be trapped. If the kids are being toxic, that gets into a little bit more of a tricky situation. And in my personal perspective, if you're feeling angry and resentful and thinking that you never should have been a parent, okay, there are times of doubt from that and times of that. And there are some people that feel obligated that they have to or need to or should go and raise kids just because that they spawned them from their body in one way or the other, either from sperm or egg. And that's not necessarily the case. And if you were in my position trying to raise a kid and being angry and resentful about it underneath, I think a kid can go and tell that. It may be better to try to find them a loving home, of one that actually wants to go and raise the kids. I know that goes into a little bit different than the traditional convention, at least in the United States. And I believe that every child deserves to be raised by people who actually want to raise the children instead of feeling like an obligation or burden or legal have to. Take a deep breath with me. With the sounds or reverberation chest. That helps to calm, relax, stimulate the vagus nerve to go from fight or flight to the rest and digest. Back to the story. Theoretically, I was supposed to be responsible for all that was in my life. But why would I have manifested such a stressful and disconnected relationships with my loved ones? Starting to ask the right questions, at least trying to take responsibility. Why would anyone want a life like this? Something else was going on, a common denominator in this recurring pattern I'd yet to fully acknowledge. Yes, we are the creators of our own reality. I do believe that. And there is a good book out there, I believe to be a good book, that I have found value in, that talks about that particular thing. It's called Existential Kink by Dr. Carolyn Elliott. And in that, it goes with the theory that the things that we say that we hate, that we don't want, there is something that we get out of it. There is a reason why we keep manifesting these kind of things over and over again, or else it wouldn't keep happening. And so with that, the idea is with existential kink is to go down into what it is that you actually want and what it is that that part of you is secretly getting from the interaction and allowing yourself to actually enjoy it. The thing that you're pushing in, say, no, I don't want, I keep getting it. No, I don't want, but I keep getting it. Just like, okay, I keep attracting it, embrace it, love it, bring it to the conscious surface, and by acknowledging and embracing those energies, you free them up. They're no longer in the unconscious mind, you brought them to the conscious, and you can choose better choices, make different choices. Now that you've, no longer resisting the what is. Back to the story. You see, children are our biggest mirrors. Whatever it is that we don't want to face will stay staring at us until we're ready and willing. That pivotal ignite moment signaled to me that I needed to make a profound and substantial change. I had to break free from the pattern I created. I realized that this evolutionary journey had to begin with the willingness to look at the one thing I had most control over. Me. Yes. I had to own and accept responsibility for the recurring and unsettling thoughts I had. Something is wrong. There is something I don't like about my life. I finally acknowledged I was the common denominator. In the past, when I didn't like something about myself, I would fix it. All the while making these improvements, the underlying current was I didn't accept myself. In fact, I disliked so many things about me. I hated how angry I would get. I hated when I didn't meet my own expectations. I hated those expectations. Why did I have so many conditions on myself? Why couldn't I love myself unconditionally? Somehow, the child in me never learned to completely love herself. A lot of the work in loving self does go back, in my experience, to basically reparenting our inner children and being able to nurture those inner children. I have an inner family, and I have 4 inner children that I'm currently aware of. I have a 4-year-old boy, an infant age baby girl, an angsty teenage girl, and a teenage boy who is concerned and fearful of abandonment. And I love them all. And they do deserve more time with me. I love them. I'm grateful for them. And yes, I have inner parents too. Um, I set up a whole internal world of a dark father, a light father, a dark mother, and a light mother that became a polyamorous quad of four to look after the inner children. That's more that we can get into on a different time. Back to this story. My parents loved me immensely, but times were tough and they worked hard to make ends meet. We didn't have the luxury of spare time. There were too many things to do around the house and farm. The expectation was we needed to behave. If that expectation wasn't met, my father made it clear there was no time for that bullshit. He was stressed, and understandably so, working two jobs, tending the farm and trying to build his business, all while supporting his family. It was a lot, and I didn't always follow the rules. Being strong-willed, I veered off course often, which was routinely met with impatience and anger. Here originated my pattern, which strengthened throughout my life. In some ways, it served me, but in many ways, it didn't. And now, as a mom, the latter became clear. Yay! Good job reflecting. Kids are the mirror that you can't run from. Anytime my daughter wasn't behaving nicely or respectfully, I would be disappointed. My disapproving look and tone shouted dismay and disgust at her, even without me saying so. When I was really frustrated and impatient, my automatic reactions echoed that of my father's from when I was a child. It's common to actually repeat the same things that we experience from our parents and to carry that on to the next generation. And we can choose to consciously change that too. I wanted to evolve and break my generational cycle. Good. Determined to give my girls peace and freedom, I needed to love and accept them for who they are and all that they are, unconditionally. Might be wondering, what does unconditionally love and accepting actually look like? You still get to have healthy boundaries, and you can love someone unconditionally at the same time. We'll see where this goes. That precise moment, sitting in the green chair of my therapist's office, set me on a new trajectory. As I began my Ignite journey, I viewed her question with a different lens. Who do I need to become so that my daughters could look at me and see the unconditional love is possible for them? Excellent question. Who am I being? Not necessarily what am I doing. Who am I being? And things pretty much always flow out from who are you being in any given moment. How could I do this when I've never experienced it? After all, I've been living my life in a particular way for many decades. So I thought, if I wanted a profound change and to cut the cord of my continual pattern, I had to do something uncharacter-like. Instead of resorting to my usual fixing myself, I began to do the opposite. I began to accept. I began to love. I began to accept and love me unconditionally. Then the real work started to unveil. I had to practice it. Yes, loving yourself is an ongoing thing. And it's okay. Welcome to the rest of your life. Breathe. Today, when I think about my therapist's question, I know that I can confidently answer her. I am the right mom for my children, simply because I choose to be. I decided from that moment to lead a life where my children will be inspired by me, to be the person that will love them unconditionally no matter what. Beautiful. Totally possible. You can do that too. You can make that kind of choice and decision. Loving yourself unconditionally, first and foremost. And you can work on doing that for others. Start with you first, because ultimately you are going to be waking up next to you every day for as long as you're alive in this lifetime. I guarantee that. So make yourself a priority, your relationship with you. As I embark on my uncharted path, my awareness grows, and this journey becomes more comfortable and comforting. I practice letting go of my expectations and trade them in for appreciation. I also do my best to treat myself with compassion and forgiveness. And I use the same perspective when interacting with my children. When my daughter screams in protest or when she yells in defiance, I practice embodying unconditional love. I pause. I practice patience, and I do my best to stay calm. I take a deep breath to center myself. I recognize the pattern I could fall back into. I make a conscious choice to thoughtfully respond. I tell her that I love her. I'm here for her, and I offer a hug. If things have escalated, I communicate, I'm starting to get angry and I need a moment. Sometimes, to maintain the space, I softly repeat my mantra, love unconditionally. Then, when we're both ready, we'll have a conversation, discussion of what to do better next time, and acknowledge them that we're learning together. I'll wrap her in my arms, embracing love and gratitude, feeling warmth and hope. That sounds a whole lot better than the old way, doesn't it? Since my Ignite moment, I continually practice walking this journey, imperfect as it may be. Through this process, my children will know what true love feels like and the peaceful freedom it brings. They will know that all of them are loved, all their behaviors, all their emotions. Side by side, we embark on this journey to become the humans we are meant to be. My Ignite moment shines a shimmering light on how I will continue to parent. With crystal clear vision, I know it begins with self and unconditional love. In this journey, the biggest fulfillment you will experience is the loving relationship you create with yourself. When you let go of unreasonable expectations, you can start to love unconditionally. And that is powerful. Beginning with the self is the unsustainable, or beginning with self is the sustainable pathway to true unconditional love, giving you the freedom to just be. There is peace of mind knowing that you are whole and complete. And as you continue to evolve into all that you can be, you will feel your whole world magically shift. And I can say with confidence, it feels damn good. And you are whole and complete, just as you are right now. And you are worthy, just as you are now. You are worthy simply because you exist. And you matter to the universe because you exist. There is nothing that you needed to do or say to earn that worthiness. And there's nothing that you can do or say to lose that worthiness. And just in case you want something on top of that, I'll offer you this as well. As an ordained minister by the Church of All Worlds, by the power invested in me by no one in particular, I hereby now declare you forevermore worthy. a moment to breathe that in. Let out with a sound. So that into your heart. I am worthy. Ignite action steps. Awareness. Start with pausing. Practice mindfulness by being aware of your thoughts and your body's reactions. Acceptance of who you are, fully and completely, fragmented but whole. Compassion toward yourself. You've been operating in a particular way for many years. Unlearning to relearn takes time. Sure. Practice. Consistency is key in evolving. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to believe in your higher self and do it anyway. Forgiveness. Forgive yourself often. Community. Surround yourself with supportive people who love you. Community makes a big difference. Breathe. Take a breath and do whatever it takes to shift your energy forward. My mantra: accepting all that you are while evolving to all that you can be is the key to living a full, loving life. Give this gift to yourself. You have that power. Aww. Love you. I love me. And from me being able to love me, it empowers me to love you. And I love you, and I accept you just as you are right now. And you may be wondering, how could I possibly love you if you don't even really know me? And I will say to you, if there are people out there who can hate one another, who they've never met and don't know anything about, and hate them, and I can make a conscious choice to love you, regardless of how well or how unknown you relatively are to me right now. I choose to love you. That you're loved. All is well. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.